All right. Uh, Guys, good morning. Thank you so much for coming over. Really appreciate your time. We're going to have some blast for next 60 to 75 minutes. A lot of questions going to come from me. Hopefully, I'll be able to get my answers and I'm not going to put you on spot. But if I do, feel free to pass the questions. Guys, let me introduce Roxy first because she was the first one to jump on the webinar 10 minutes before the webinar. Roxy, thank you so much for your time. Roxy is in the business of consumer electronics, uh, and she is she is a COO of Infinite Objects, and she did a BBA in marketing from George Washington University. She went to Parsons School of Design for fashion design, but from fashion design, she's moved to consumer electronics. So that's a good story. We would like to know why and what happened from fashion design to consumer electronics. She is highly creative and extremely passionate, and she started off her career as an accountant. Extremely good. That's you also look surprised. I think we dug you up a lot.
Yeah, that's not true. I didn't start as an accountant, but
My bad. My bad.
I don't know where that came from, but can't take that credit. I'd love to be able to do that. That would help a lot right now, I'll tell you that much.
Excellent. Wonderful. So tell us about your journey, Roxy. How did you move from fashion design to consumer electronics?
Yeah, so I have degrees both in business and design. And when I started working in New York, I was mainly working at different fashion brands. And I always would have to participate in marketing and business efforts. And I realized that that was really at the core of my strength and what people were really looking for. So it's been nice to have both the creative background and strategic background. And I found myself gravitating more towards that as time went on, and really working with big and small brands to kind of understand strategically a lot of creative aspects, but also baseline business aspects of growth and the business and strategy. And so then I just kept leaning in that direction. But it's nice to be working at Infinite Objects now. A big part of what we do is based in art. But yeah, doing operations is kind of a mixed bag, I'm sure, as everyone on the call understands. Everyone's wearing a bunch of hats. So it's really great for me to have had all that different various experience.
Wonderful, wonderful, Roxy. So you basically compete with who all in your business in the e-commerce world?
With Google, is that?
Who do you compete with in the business?
Oh, so that's an interesting question because we, unlike most brands, get to say nobody just yet. Our product is a permanently treated display, and no one is treating displays permanently to date. We're sure that very soon we'll have direct competition. We like to think of competitors as kind of people like FrameBridge, any digital photo frames, but at the core, our product is very different because the concept is trying to emulate a printed photograph or an art print. So no one else is treating displays that are showing any type of video or photographs permanently. And that's really at the core of our mission because we consume so much video content, but there's no way to kind of commemorate a moving moment permanently as you would a printed photograph, or if you're collecting an art print, there's no way to bring scarcity beyond the blockchain, which is very confusing to a lot of people. So our design object right now is treated in a way that no other company is treating it. And we consider anything that people are trying to commemorate their memories or print things or kind of share different moving moments with people as in that realm. But as there's no one else we can point to that's doing a digital permanently treated object that has no buttons or apps or connectivity.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So what's your online versus offline sales?
In total, so you want the actual figures?
The ratio.
Yeah, so we're doing most online. So we're doing a lot through Shopify. We've had, we launched in October of last year, and from then to now, we've had 10x growth, which has been very exciting. And we do some B2B, which we also process through our Shopify. But right now, we're mostly doing direct consumer in terms of, we're not in any. We're in very small retail. We have a small retail footprint and some galleries, but we're mostly doing direct to consumer right now.
Excellent. How many products you got?
So we have 3 SKUs essentially, but they track back to several different products. What we really want to think about is the content on our device. We like to say that we're paper for video because we allow people to treat video kind of in that way as if they're printing video. So we work with a lot of different artists. Our team makes evergreen content. So let's say you come to our site, you don't have the perfect video of your own to upload. You want something more designy. We have kind of evergreen content. We have limited edition art, and then we have the ability for you to upload and print your own videos. So that's more of user generated content.
Interesting. Thank you so much for the initial discussion, Roxy. Thank you for setting the context. Uh, Let me move to Shaida. Shaida, you are in the CBD business, and you are CEO and the co-founder of Restart CBD. What's your why? Why are you doing what you are doing?
So I'm a born and raised Texan, and cannabis at a federal level is obviously not fully legal when it comes to marijuana. CBD, I deal with hemp, so that is now federally legal. But when you look at Texas as a starting place, there's a lot of education that needs to be done. And so I really founded my brand because I'm passionate about the plant. And I also have a personal journey of how the plant has interacted with my life. Specifically, I was in a car accident 5.5 years ago. I was hit by a vehicle as a pedestrian and I fractured my pelvis in 2 places. I was in my mid-20s and going through chronic pain, and recovery was very uncomfortable. Obviously, I don't wish that experience upon anybody, but as you all know, pain is inevitable as we age through life. And so when I started looking around the market, CBD was something that was just barely being discussed. It wasn't something that was very prominent. I didn't have any familiarity with it in the context of cannabis at large. Now, because I was consuming high THC products and I have a very open relationship with my family, it was actually my family who joined with me to ultimately bring Restart CBD to market. So we were the first retail brand to open up in Central Texas. We're now one of the top retail brands coming out of Texas, and about 6 months into doing retail, I had started in e-commerce, but e-commerce and cannabis is very tricky. And so we've been navigating that, but now we're happy to be operating a very, popular e-commerce and retail brand in cannabis coming out of Austin, Texas.
Excellent, wonderful. So you have a very strong why. I think one thing that we have learned over the time is that how can we convert our mess as a message for somebody? How do you make your mess into a message? So your mess was you met an accident and you discovered that CBD was something which helped you come out of it, and so that was your mess, and you became it, and you made a message out of it. You crafted a message out of it and made your business as a very strong why. I'm sure you are very passionate about your business. So how are you able to circumvent or understand the e-commerce of CBD? What are the rules and regulations that are stopping you, not stopping you? Is it under-regulated, over-regulated? What's happening in the US?
Yeah, so CBD and cannabis are severely underregulated right now. I'll back up a little bit. My background is actually, I did corporate technology and branding for a managed WordPress host. So I started my career in WordPress, which is an open source platform, specifically helping other people's brands go online and crafting their messages and all that process. Now, when I was launching my brand, we didn't start with e-commerce first because e-commerce is very difficult in the cannabis space. on the kind of, high end, picking the right platform that integrates into, if you do have a retail POS, is a huge component. Right now, there's no out of the box solutions. It's very clunky. Another component is payment merchants, who's going to actually let me process and transact somebody's money. A third tier to that is what products I'm actually able to sell. I know you asked Roxy how many SKUs she has. I have over 150 SKUs, lots of variations. They range. I sell anything from a topical to a legal hemp flower. So it's legal. It looks like marijuana, though, unfortunately. And because it's not fully legal, I have the pleasure of dealing with the United States Postal Service when I'm shipping my packages out. I have the pleasure of, right now in Texas, for example, we're going through a smokable ban. Well, a significant amount of my products, both retail and e-commerce, are smokable products. And so as a marketer who wants to sell those products, I have to be crafty in how I communicate those words, because I have to sell it now as a non-smokable. And so when you're getting into SEO, of course, we're talking about our why, we're very passionate about education. I have to basically educate, but be creative in how I'm educating that message to consumers. So we're very fortunate, because when I'm talking about small solutions or out of the box solutions, there really aren't anything. Again, I know Roxy mentioned Shopify. Shopify recently opened up into CBD. Do your due diligence, do your research. It's not an out of the box solution, depending on what products you're selling. Again, if you're a topical brand, that's much different than if you're selling smokables, or if you're selling full spectrum products with trace amounts of THC. So I think those are all things that anybody who's getting into e-commerce, specifically in cannabis, needs to be considerate of. We are hosted with WordPress, as well as, or WooCommerce as our e-commerce platform, and we bolt into Square. So Square is really the only small business solution that is, for all intents and purposes, out of the box. But the joke is, nothing's out of the box. We've recently had to hire lots of agency hours to specifically customize the e-commerce integration from Square to WooCommerce, because it just simply doesn't work the way you want it to work. So yeah, lots of challenges, lots of learning and journeys, but it's exciting. I think the pandemic, for better or worse, specifically has helped push, obviously, lots more businesses online. But I think from a cannabis perspective, because we do lack regulation, you are starting to see more kind of generic out of the box solutions be made available to our industry.
Fabulous. Wonderful, Shada. Thank you so much for setting the context for the discussion. I will ask you more questions in the second round. John, over to you. You are in the business of skincare and men's cosmetic. And John is the founder and CMO of Styrex. He is an avid reader and a constant learner. He's also founder and president of Cavalier Inc. He graduated from La Roche College in IT and business administration and management, and he worked with Apple for 3 years. Now, working in Apple and tech and business administration, you moved on to men's cosmetic. Tell us about his transition.
Yeah, so I spent a few years at Apple, and then I went into predictive analytics and big data for retailers. So I got to see products from their inception to being sold in stores at some of the biggest retailers in the world, which was very cool. And then at the same time, I built a YouTube channel in the men's style and fashion space. That's the Cavalier. And that is what ultimately led me to this category, because I could see that there were a lot of guys who were taking more care about their appearance just from their style perspective, but then they weren't, and then they would take care of their hair, but then they weren't taking care of their face. And so it's like each of these steps kind of goes hand in hand with the other ones. And so I was doing my YouTube channel, and then I was approached by the guys that were building Strix, and a huge component of what Strix needs to do, because there is no direct competitive product, but the competitor that we're really going against is the stigma around men taking care of their skin at first, but cosmetics is an even bigger hurdle. And so if we lead with education, showing guys how to integrate this, having the product be easy and quick, then that's a huge thing. And so I joined as a co-founder.
Fabulous. So you said it's a hurdle to convince men to use cosmetic products and to tell them that looking good and taking care of your skin and hair is an important thing. How do you educate men about grooming, and and using cosmetic products and taking care of their skin? What do you do to educate them?
I think guys do understand it, but I think then there's an education hurdle. It's like, what products do you use? How do you use it? When and why? And so that's what we're getting over. So we're doing it across any social media channel that they want to engage on. So we've had a lot of success organically on TikTok, and that's been a huge one for just a ton of engagement over there. And there's a very willingness to embrace on that side. And then, Facebook and YouTube, we have those as well. And so we're seeing different there's a different level of acceptance across age ranges. Older guys, they have used these products in secret before, and there's a Mintel study that 56% of men have admitted to wearing some kind of cosmetic on their face in the last year. So like the products are out there, but they're generally sneaking it from a wife, girlfriend, or partner, or they're buying a women's product. And so now the feedback we get is this is the first time guys feel comfortable buying this product because we've made it very sleek, discreet, and easy to use. And so the hurdle or the educational component is making sure the products are easy, because we don't assume when we develop all the products, we don't assume a guy has a routine, a multi-step routine, and they're not going to use applicators, sponges, brushes. Like, we just want it to be quick and easy. And so it doesn't add time, but it can give you instant results, which women all know. But guys have really been behind on that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, John, who said in the context. All right. So let me again go to Roxy. Roxy, you spoke about competition, and you're selling on Shopify. Your growth has been 10x in last 1 year. You're primarily doing online, you're saying. So which ones are your most favorite Shopify apps, and why?
Well, as Shada was saying, even Shopify isn't an out-of-box solution. So there's always little things that we find. Even yesterday, I was talking to our customer service representative, and she was having trouble. There's no quick way to upgrade someone's shipping method, for instance. So we have to find an app to do that. We also use, I can just pop in here and see all that. We have so many different Shopify apps to make it workable. We do the address validator just to make sure customers know if there's any type of error in their address. We also use Decile to kind of really understand the data we have. I'm sure, John has done, big data before, but I think that something I've seen throughout my career is that a lot of times it's hard to go through the data and understand it and cross-reference everything and make sure it's accurate. So it's nice to work with Decile, who uses first-party and third-party data sources to kind of really help us understand our consumer base and where they're coming from. We have Klaviyo as an app. Lucky Orange kind of helps us see a customer's journey on our website. We are, all of us are CPG. Inventory is a nightmare, so that we've experimented with different inventory apps on Shopify. So those are kind of the big ones that we have, but we're always kind of testing and doing trials on a bunch, just because it's never a one size fits all, and everyone always has to get creative.
Wonderful. So Roxy, in your business, you are the chief operative officer. You focus on operations a lot. In operations, what exactly do you give the most attention to?
I think for all of us to succeed, it's very much my job to make sure everyone's set up for success and knows what their responsibilities are. Again, as I've said before, I can be the COO, but on a small team, I'm also the CMO, and I'm also the head of partnerships, and I'm also like HR and all of those things. So I think that what's really important for the team is to establish a culture where everyone is kind of open to that and understanding of the fact that there isn't a certain one role that everyone is doing heads down. It's not like a big corporation where you have very specific tasks that you're doing every day. So I think that establishing that culture and then making sure that each individual employee is set up for success and just making sure everything is operating. So it's kind of just, we're all hands on deck. I work with my CEO. We both are kind of working with everyone daily to just make sure everything is executed. So I think that for both of us right now, we are wearing a lot of hats. But for me specifically, I'm just trying to make sure at the very least that everyone has clarity. There are no bottlenecks. And that goes from everything from daily operations with employees to our supply chain and everything in between.
Mhm. Excellent. Wonderful. Uh, Shaida, so what are your biggest challenges in your business?
Where do I begin? Oh my gosh. Well, specifically with obviously e-commerce, just the challenges of inventory. I mean, that's probably the biggest pain point for us right now. I think when you are looking at cannabis again, most people are not operating online. So they're really just trying to keep track of inventory in one specific place. When you are direct to consumer and you have e-commerce and you have retail, obviously making sure those inventory pieces sync up is really key, especially with having as many SKUs as we have. And it is not as easy for us as, not as it's easy for anybody, but it's not easy for us to find solutions specifically on WordPress that do the job in one task. So we've had to hire out multiple times different agencies to custom solve the solution. And unfortunately, the reality is there's not even a really great custom solution, as I'm sure everybody on the call can relate to. It's a lot of finger pointing. So we'll call Square and Square says it's WooCommerce. And then we'll call WooCommerce and WooCommerce says it's Square. And so you play this dance of, should my inventory push from here or pull from there? And so it's kind of refreshing to be in a discussion with people who I'm sure are relating to a lot of the things that we're all sharing. But then the reality, when you kind of go back to, your computer and you're like, well, crap, I need the inventory to sync, because at the end of the day, the most important thing for me is for the customer to have the best experience. And it's a really crappy experience when my customer goes to shop online and sees a product is out of stock when I know that I have it, or vice versa. I sell the product in store to someone and then someone goes online to buy it and it hasn't updated just quite yet. So then they purchase the product and then I have to have a conversation of why I don't have that product in stock anymore. And so just kind of navigating that and keeping that manageable is overwhelming sometimes, just because again, I think e-commerce is very challenging, but I'm stressing it a lot just because I do come from the platform background. Cannabis is another beast, and it's because the regulations, it's because even state to state, certain states can, even though hemp is legal, certain products aren't legal in every state. So I have to have certain shipping features where I can't show or sell certain products to certain states. And it's definitely a contention point for growth, right? You want to be able to scale, you want to be able to have fluidity, you want to be able to bring in new products, you want to be able to do marketing. So for me, I have a degree in marketing and an MBA in business, and I want nothing more than to turn the water faucet on to my e-commerce site and drive traffic. But I can't drive traffic because I have these things that are challenges. So again, one end, it's inventory. Another pain point for us is scaling. So Square places a limit on how much I can actually transact through them. And because I'm cannabis, I don't have the luxury of going and finding another payment merchant that bolts into Square and WooCommerce. And so I'm at the mercy of Square to let me process the limit that I can process. And so I did just get that limit raised. However, once I scale and I get to that point, that's another discussion. And for us, I mentioned we hired an agency. The agency is doing some customization to Square in WooCommerce for us. If I outgrow that, then I have to re-engage another agency or re-platform. And so right now there just isn't a really great solution for cannabis brands to be online with the excitement and opportunity to grow. You're very limited, and I feel very fortunate that I come from that background because I've navigated a lot of this. But the reality is there's not really a solution. And so depending on, again, what you're selling, how you're selling it, there's different things that you need to be considerate of to get your brand to market.
Wonderful. Excellent. That's a great piece of advice, Shada, thank you so much. Um, Coming to John, John, in the last few months, I've been talking to a lot of people, and they're saying inventory can be a killer. It can kill you. It can kill your business, whether you have it or you don't have it. A lot of people are stocking inventory worth millions of dollars. They're not able to sell it, and they have no idea how to get rid of it. People are getting onto models where it's like they get the order first and then they procure and ship the order. What's your take on inventory?
Yeah, it's probably the biggest thing for any CPG, any physical goods company has to deal with this. But there's an art and a science to it. Like big companies, even the biggest companies in the world don't have it figured out, which is very reassuring for the small guys because we'd work with like major retailers and they're putting their finger in the wind. They're like probably going to be this many. So all you can do is try and plan for your best. I mean, subscriptions are very big, or they're growing in this space, right? There's more consumers are getting used to getting their deodorant delivered on a regular basis. Like I get CBD delivered on a regular basis, and so that can really help because you need to have some level of anticipation for that. And we actually just ran into we rolled out in CVS stores. And we had to put in a huge order to fulfill that, and then pull our inventory from what we had, and then get a new order. Like we dealt with that back in April, and it was a really big thing. But we definitely err on the side of having more than less because we'd rather have a little bit more inventory than having to sell out. We have sold out a couple of times, and then you have to go to the wait list and then email later, follow up, that sort of thing. But that's probably the worst customer experience, versus taking a little bit more risk on this side. So we definitely try and err on the side of having more than less.
Mhm. So what you are saying that it's better to have more than not having it and giving a bad customer experience. So what about so how do you get rid of products that are not selling? What is your strategy of selling products which are perhaps retiring or not selling, and this huge stock available with you? What do you do with that?
Yeah, that's where discounting could definitely come in, or doing like a feature. If you do like a bundle or a kit and you say like, here's an exclusive, or having some way to position it in a way that you're not necessarily diluting the brand, but in order to still, move those units in that inventory, I've definitely seen that be a huge driver.
Do you suggest getting rid of such inventory at a loss?
If you have to, I mean, if you're really in a bad place, then you can. But our philosophy also is a lot more about sustained growth and in operating in a profitable way, and so we try to avoid that.
How long you have been in business, John?
We officially launched January of 2019.
Wow. So just about you're gonna finish 2 years in a month's time.
Yep.
Uh, and have you been funded?
Yeah, we've raised a little bit of angel investment.
So are you guys profitable?
Net profitable, no, but we're our unit economics are very strong, so we're okay there.
When do you think you will be profitable?
We were planning for early 2021, but that was before COVID. But we also, this year's been really good for us. I mean, this category has been pretty resilient. It's just been a matter of, can we add more team members to scale versus, trying to pull back a little bit. And so on the same way, we've erred on the side of making sure we're well equipped.
So are men taking care of themselves during the pandemic?
Yeah, the biggest change was that, guys, everybody's on camera now, right? Everybody's on Instagram and TikTok and video, but now guys are faced to look at themselves in the camera and they're realizing that they need a little bit of work. And so we saw back in March and April, like, how to look better on Zoom, or how to, fix your under eye bags. Like that was a huge growth sector. And then like, men's looks became really big. And so we've definitely benefited from that.
Excellent. So for you, the business has been growing in the last 10 months or so.
Yeah,
So business grew. So you are in which platform, John?
we're on Shopify as well.
Shopify, and you're also selling offline.
Yeah, we're in 2,000 CVS stores, and then we're with a couple of online partners, and then like boutique retail shops as well.
Mhm. And wonderful. So how many SKUs do you have?
We have 5 products, which works out to 9 SKUs with shade differentiation.
All right. So, John, what do you focus on in the business? What's your primary focus?
Mine's all like social engagement and messaging, marketing, and branding. And so anything related to the educational content that we put out, engaging with the customer. We have like a secret group that we started in WhatsApp where we have about 40 customers. That's like a very active customer group where they're getting a lot of feedback on products and messaging, and they'll send us influencers we should work with and that sort of thing. And so any way that we're engaging the customer is really on my side.
Excellent. Social and marketing other stuff. Thank you so much, John. Thank you very much. Let me move to Roxy. Roxy, in our when we are doing businesses, we have customers which come and go. We have clients who stay a little longer, and then we have fans who love us. How do you convert your customers into your fans?
Yeah, so there's a lot of opportunities to do that. First, we really obviously want to make sure that our customer service is the best possible, that, you know, we're engaging with people online through community management, but also if any questions come up that they feel very much taken care of. And another big part of what we're doing is just providing a lot of different types of content and allowing people to see that, you know, this is not just about making a one-time purchase, that if you want to gift things or if there's a certain type of time of year, that there's always an infinite object that would be a perfect gift or that you can elevate your space with. So I think that really getting people excited about different artist drops, having people in our community help us decide who to work with next, what partnerships that we're doing, what artists that we're doing launches with, all of that really helps get people excited. So I think that providing a lot of variety and showing and inspiring people and giving them ideas as to how to use the product or how to gift the product is really what will make them a super fan of Infinite Objects.
Wonderful. How do you personalize? Do you do some kind of personalization, some kind of human touch as well?
Yeah, so in different with our packaging and stuff, everyone can include a gift note, and I think that's been really wonderful for us. It provides such a window of understanding into what people are doing and why. So when people include a gift note in their order and they are, you know, including words of encouragement, or if they're saying, you know, since we can't be together, I want you to remember this memory, or remember the time we went here or there, and I can't wait to travel again, or happy birthday, or sending anniversary gifts to couples that are not themselves. All of that helps provide us with a lot of insight into are people understanding this product? How are they describing it to the person they're gifting it to? Why are they getting it? What is, you know, at the base of why they made this purchase? So in that sense, that personal element has been really lovely for us to review and to really jump into that understanding with no points of friction. Obviously, we do want to reach out to the clients. We have client surveys. We do different types of outreach, but that custom element really gives us a lot of insight as a business as well.
Wonderful, excellent. Thank you so much, Roxy. Uh, Shada, coming to you. Uh, are you guys funded, Shada?
We are not, we are bootstrapped,
Bootstrap.
self-funded.
Okay, yes. So, how has been the business for you in the last 10 months, Shada?
I think obviously again with COVID, it really impacted everybody's small business. But again, I think there was a really big opportunity to go online where I think we had an upper hand compared to our industry was we had already started to navigate being online. So I launched my e-commerce about 2 years ago. So versus I saw a lot of brands trying to go online, obviously during the pandemic, and a lot of the pain points that I expressed are not easy things to start addressing. And so the fact that I've been dealing with it for the past couple of years has better prepared me for it. But I think the pandemic taught us a lot of, you know, new business opportunities as well. So I think at large, cannabis was marked as an essential business, but even being marked as essential, these brands had to get creative. So again, nationally, marijuana, hemp, I started seeing brands offer curbside delivery solutions. And so being in Texas, in Austin, our mayor actually specifically said CBD shops had to close down when they did the first wave of lockdowns, compared to some restaurants who were able to stay open and offer takeout and curbside. We stayed closed for a while, but because we had an online presence, we were able to still offer online, even though my retail traffic was shot. And then as things started opening up, we were able to start to offer curbside, and curbside has boomed for us. I mean, the ability for a customer to place an order online through an e-commerce platform, but to still have the convenience of coming and picking it up locally, was just really exciting of an opportunity for us that I don't think any of us thought would still be. Obviously, we're still going through the pandemic, so it's not like we're out of it, but it wasn't something that I ever would have thought to offer to my consumers without obviously being confronted with, crap, how do I get my products to my consumers, especially locally, who want to maintain their routines, and things like that.
Wonderful. Excellent. So, Shaida, what are your core values? What core values do you follow to run yourself and run your business?
So we're very passionate about educating on cannabis. We see cannabis as a very misunderstood plant. And so while yes, I love nothing more than transacting and making profit from my business, I ultimately see our business as a platform to help advocate on behalf of a plant that is very misunderstood. So we spend a lot of our time and our resources in educating, whether that's at a consumer level, it's at a city or state level, or even a national level. Obviously, conversations like this benefit those listening, but it benefits me too. It keeps that cycle going. And so being able to bring that resource back to my consumers, we've built trust with them, which is why, I think the brands that are also represented are very unique. It's not like we're selling t-shirts with a different saying on it. CBD to some extent is a commodity. I mean, I'm sure where you all live, CBD is everywhere. They're adding it to everything. And so how do you create some differentiation? So for us, it really stems from being passionate and helping empower the consumer, because they're the influencer. We talk through this a lot, especially operating in e-commerce. I'm not, again, selling t-shirts or cereal. If I had that product on a website, maybe the flavors are different, maybe the ingredients are different, but most consumers would understand what cereal is. I sell a product that people don't even understand what CBD is. So how do you even understand that you need it? So I have to do a lot of upfront education on the legality of it. How's it going to make your body feel? How much should you take? And oh, by the way, the other foot dropping or the other shoe dropping is legally, I can't tell anybody how much to take or how often to take it. And so you're kind of confronted in this mix of, I really think we're being pioneers in this discussion, because there isn't really somebody who's kind of come before us and done it. So especially when you're looking from an e-commerce perspective, I'm like, who can I learn from? And I kind of look around and I realize I'm the one who's leading the charge. And so unfortunately and fortunately, it just puts us in a position to have to kind of be, agile and learn from our mistakes. And so I would say another core value for us is just kind of like what Roxy was saying, the customer experience and making sure our customers are taken care of, the customers right. There's no dumb question, obviously, but especially in cannabis, I think there's a lot of things to share a little bit more about our brand too. I'm a huge marijuana consumer. I grew up smoking marijuana. It's very comfortable for me. In Texas, because it's not legal, most people don't even understand that functionality. They're afraid of it. They don't know how it's going to make them feel. And then I think John was mentioning something too specifically around content. We're very big on content creation to help wrap that customer journey. So again, having a retail, I can listen to what my customers are saying in real time. Their purchasing products are saying, okay, well, I heard this product is really good for me, but I don't know how to use it. What do I do? And so we had some customer very early on who was saying, how do I smoke out of a joint? Most of us know this is a filter. You put your mouth on this side. This is the side that the flame goes on. You light it on that side. But again, customers, you have to kind of allow them to be newbies. And so instead of, again, I think certain brands, you always want to market to who your brand is. I don't think that you want to be marketing to everyone, but for us, our position, our strength in the market was helping people understand and feel comfortable with this very stigmatized product. And so it starts with creating content at a very fundamental level. And so we literally turned an iPhone around. I shot a 6-minute video on how to smoke a joint, very rudimentary, how to light it, how to put it out. And that video now has over like 100,000 views on YouTube. And so, you know, it's just being able to, again, provide a high quality product, but then ultimately connect it back to the consumer to provide that value, to make them feel, you know, empowered. Like, oh, I learned this piece of information from Shada and the Restart CBD team. It made me feel confident. Now this product actually works for me, and I have some information. I can now go advocate to my family, my spouse, my kids. I mean, I'm a millennial. I launched the brand thinking I would just sell to a bunch of, you know, people like myself who are very high functioning, but busy, you know, corporate people who just work all the time and need some CBD to chill out. And the reality was, flip. I had more 55 plus consumers coming to my store who were very curious. And in fact, they were bringing their children into the conversation. And so I just think when you're running a brand, you have to kind of look for those opportunities, again, like Roxy was saying, of where are you getting feedback from the customer? What are they looking for? How do you position it to them? How do you ultimately carry that narrative so that they can embody it and then own it? And so yeah, I mean, I'm a marketer by trade, but I spend very little on marketing, and we do it all through just empowering the customer through these high quality experiences and really easy to understand and digest, and ultimately easy to share pieces of content.
Fabulous, wonderful. Um, Coming to John. John, are you selling on Amazon?
No, we're not on Amazon.
Why do you think somebody should sell on Amazon?
I think the size of the market that Amazon dominates, I mean, you can't really ignore it. And so it is like a weekly discussion that we have. It's like, is this the week we do it? Is this the month we do it? For us, like when we look at search volumes, because I think the stat is like 45% of all online shopping starts at Amazon. It's like, it's massive. But then there's a lot of like brand control and customer control that you lose by going that route. And so until we see like a higher level of searches for the types of products that we have, that's kind of the tipping point that we're waiting for, is you know, at what point are we missing out on so many customers because they're not finding our product? The reality now is, like, you know, men's cosmetics, men's concealer is not being searched for on Amazon at any significant volume, and we're getting that traffic through Google. But at some point we would, and then you know, because we talk to our customers a lot too, and we say, like, would you buy us on Amazon? And it's still a small sliver. And so we keep waiting for the right data to say, all right, it's time to make the jump.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. So what's your ROAS? ROAS?
I mean, it varies across channels, but our target is always somewhere around a 2.2.
2.2x. Are you happy with 2.2x?
Yeah.
Excellent. Where do you spend your marketing dollars, John?
It's primarily Facebook and Instagram now. We're trying, you know, we diversify as much as we can. We had a lot of success on Snapchat. That's been a really good channel for us. And then we're experimenting with TikTok, but it's very rudimentary, and it's been a little bit tough to scale.
Mm-hmm. Facebook, Instagram, experimenting with other channels. Now, are you also big on content?
Yeah, I mean, we have a blog. We have monthly or weekly posts that go up on our blog around the educational component. I mean, everything Shea was saying, it's like, yeah, that's exactly what we have to do, because there's converting the person who's curious into the fan, and we know our fans spread the word in a huge way. And so making sure that they're empowered to understand how this works, why we exist, and really communicating that is huge.
Excellent. What you're saying is there has to be a mix of content writing, blogging, and ads. You can't just rely on one strategy.
Oh yeah, you get it, because it's also, everybody consumes differently. Like for me, I won't read an article, I'll watch a video. My wife won't watch a video, she'll read an article. And so it's like every customer is a little bit different. But as long as you have that journey for them to go through, it's like they discover you on one channel, they'll go to the other, or even like in our email flows. If a guy gets a product, we have custom email flows to say, like, all right, you got the concealer, here's a few ways to use it. And then if they engage with that, we give them more because we can see that they're curious about it. And so making sure that it's tailored to them as well.
Wonderful, excellent.
Thanks to Clavia.
Roxy, have you ever consumed cannabis?
Is this on the record? Yes. I actually, have a lot of empathy for Shada because I was working with a cannabis brand, which was one of the biggest distributors. And every day the rules were changing. You could use this word in this state and that word in another. And there's, you need a whole legal team behind your team there. So I think that, what we're doing alone with CPG and e-commerce is hard enough. And it's just like, that is a whole other layer. It's a whole other beast, like you were saying. And I've had a little bit of time in that. And I really commend you because it is a huge challenge. I mean, even where you have a bank account and all of that has to be really strategic. So.
Yes. So, Roxy, according to you, what are the ill effects of cannabis?
I think that everyone's different and has had different experiences, and I'm not an expert, so I'm sure Shada can answer this better than I can, but I think that some people react differently to different types of things. So maybe just maybe it's more of just the unknown where people have had a bad experience and then they're afraid of it, of reliving that, or they're not educated enough to know that there are different strains. So I think that the ill effects are a bad experience for someone.
Mm-hmm. So Shada, coming to you, people are drinking alcohol and doing a lot of other things, and alcohol is also bad for your body and for you. So what do you think are the ill effects of cannabis? How do you educate people about the ill effects of the cannabis?
Yeah, I think Roxy highlighted a lot of the stuff that we're confronted with on a daily basis. It's anything from, oh, I smoked this, in my teen years and I hated the way it made me feel. I don't want to be high now. I'm in my 50s or 60s. We do have a lot of parents administering it to their children. They've heard, for better or worse. And so obviously there's caution with how it's going to make them feel. I think overdose is a huge concern when you are looking at marijuana versus hemp. A little bit of an education. They are like cousin plants. They will look and smell the same essentially, but marijuana is going to be high in THC over 0.3%. And that's what makes you psychotropically high. You feel high. It's usually people don't like that feeling, versus hemp is going to contain no more than 0.3% THC, making it federally legal. Also very unlikely you're going to get a buzz, but the reality is that's just THC. THC is one cannabinoid of 160 cannabinoids. We now talk about CBD, so 2 cannabinoids. In our industry, there's at least 4 or 5 other that are prominent coming to market. They all work together to give an effect to a consumer. But of course, consumers, I guess a big one we hear a lot is, indica sativa hybrid. Indica is more into couch, heavy relaxation. Sativa is more daytime, uplifting. And so consumers are trained to shop that way. But as the market evolves, because cannabis is still so new, that's actually not a great way to be educating consumers because there's so many nuances. And so trying to have that conversation where someone comes in because they watched a movie or they heard from a friend or they read an article or they went, like for us, we're really fortunate. I think when we launched the brand, legally, I cannot say CBD will do anything. And when people Google CBD, they might hear, hey, CBD can help lower my blood pressure. Hey, CBD can help with my pain management. And then they come into my store and I have to say, I'm not a doctor. You should check with your doctor if you would like to consider, titrating down on your medication or completely getting off your medication. People take it for anxiety as well. So anxiety meds come up a lot. Well, before, when we first launched, 2.5, 3 years ago, we didn't have the support of the medical industry. But now I'm starting to see more of that conversation kind of happening at both ends. So I now have customers who are being told by their doctors, hey, I don't know enough about CBD. You should go see somebody who knows about CBD. We've built enough of a reputation in our community to be the selected CBD brand. But I think you're just constantly combating how's this going to make me feel? Am I going to overdose on it? Even again, though CBD and hemp are legal, full spectrum products contain trace amounts of THC. People could still fail drug tests. Just because something is legal doesn't mean you can still legally be consuming it and get off scotch free. So for example, Colorado is federally legal. Is state legal. But if you're a nurse and you smoke marijuana and you get drug tested, you could lose your license. So it's not quite black and white where consumers have confidence of, I'm purchasing this product, this is how it's going to make me feel. We all have different endocannabinoid systems. That's how cannabis interacts with our body, is through the endocannabinoid system. And just like alcohol, we could all take a shot of tequila and we would all have a different experience. Just like tequila makes you feel different than wine makes you feel different. You have to think through that with cannabis. And so we experience that hurdle constantly.
Excellent. Thank you for that education slot, Shada.
You're welcome.
John, if somebody wants to start an e-commerce business right now, what advice would you give them?
There's a lot of roads to go down. First off, I feel good that we're just dealing with the FDA when it comes to claims about like SPF and things. So it's always good to have some perspective. But yeah, I mean, starting with e-com, you could go any route. It depends on the outcome you're looking for. There's a bunch of like teenagers that do drop shipping on Amazon for commodity products, or if you want to go like the brand building way, which seems like the three of us have gone, which is to build a product, a brand, and really build up like a passionate, loyal consumer base. Like you gotta choose the route that you're gonna go first, because that's going to dictate then which platforms you build on. And then same thing, depending on the product, it's going to be WooCommerce or Shopify. Shopify is like the darling for a lot of D2C CPG brands, but if you can't use Shopify for some reason, then you got to spend a lot more time developing your own platform. And it's also going to depend on the your channels too, because the channels you go to market are going to be affected by that, because Shaya, you can't advertise on Facebook, and that's a huge component for most CPG brands. That's top of funnel awareness, that's driving customers and everything. And so for someone to start, it's like what product and what category you want to go into, and what do you really like? For me, I remember when one of the investors was like, "Why are you the one that's going to build this?" And it's like, because I love products. I love building physical things. I like having people use the things that I built, and like, even for me, when we launched new products, I ordered them just as a customer, paid for them, and shipped them to myself, because it's like I'm just a fan of products itself, but I know people that love software in the same way. And so it's like, what is the thing that's going to keep you up and keep you getting out of bed every morning really excited? And I think that's why the three of us are here.
Excellent, John. Thank you so much for those tips. I'm sure people can use it during these times, especially when they want to get online as soon as possible. Roxy, coming to you. How do you, what's your ROAS, Roxy?
Sorry, you cut out a bit.
What's your ROAS?
I think I'm having some connection problem.
What is your return on ad spend? Am I audible?
We have some campaigns that are up to 4, which is really exciting for us. So we're really tracking different audiences and obviously the creative as well. But yeah, that's kind of our benchmarks internally are around 3 to 4. And we've, with certain campaigns, have been able to achieve that. So it's been very exciting for us.
Fabulous. So 3 to 4x. That's good. That's a good number. How are you able to? So what kind of mental gymnastics do you do to understand your customers and get this ROAS?
Yeah, so I think that, everyone has kind of touched on content, and the creative is very important for our campaigns, as well as the messaging. It's kind of like that perfect combination. Is the messaging on target? Is the creative working? Is the audience targeted properly? And we're always kind of experimenting on a more granular level. We also primarily advertise on Facebook, and I think that what we try to do is whenever you speak to someone at Facebook, the algorithm is so strong. There's this real push to go broad. And what's difficult about that is that it leaves us with very little information about what is working specifically and what is not. So while we do you follow best practices on the Facebook side, every month so far, we've also been experimenting with our own interest-based audiences to really give us insight about what people are specifically interested in. When you run broad audiences that are lookalikes and stuff like that, you can't go back to Facebook and say, of the people that purchased, what were their interests? What were their ages? What was the demographic? That's kind of, for privacy issues as well. So what we like to do is kind of say, in addition to doing that, which works, we also want to get more granular information. So we're going to run these interest-based, very specific audiences to really help us get some insights on our own. And a combination of that has really helped us get to a place where we're seeing higher ROAS and, finding new audiences as we move along. Because I think that it's really easy to sit back and just take it for face value and do broader audiences and do lookalikes. But I think that it's really good to challenge yourself, and then you end up finding things that you didn't expect, or audiences and places or interests involved that you hadn't initially thought of as a successful audience. So we try to keep doing that all the time.
Fabulous.
And then all the time we are surprised by the results. We'll see a creative that I filmed on a smartphone on my own, and that'll be so much more successful than something that's really buttoned up and professional. And, that's kind of the trend now too. We'll see both succeed, but a lot of people want to see things from their perspective. And sometimes when you see the production value is low, but the response is high. So those are all things that we try to learn from and say, and it changes month to month. There's no formula that's always right. But when you look through the data, there's so many different points that you have to consider. Is it more about, a low CPM? Is it about conversions? And what's the middle ground? Like, just going through the ads and deciding what to turn off and how to optimize is, there's no clear way of doing it. So it's definitely going with your gut and then filling in the rest with data.
Excellent. Wonderful. In this last round, if any of you have a question for a fellow speaker, you can shoot now. You don't expect this.
I mean, I think I've learned so much and I love that, even though we're doing such different things, that it is kind of, it's very unique to work with a company that's doing something very differently. And it's really lovely to talk to John and Shada, because I think that you guys have a different, there's so many, especially with CBD and cannabis, but I think that really staying true to that message. And then I think also cosmetics for men, I think it's such a great concept and so new. So I think that the newness and the different perspective that all of us are able to provide with our brands is very unique. Usually someone's just trying to do something slightly differently, or they're emulating something that's already existed for a while. So it's been really lovely to kind of tap into that across the different brands.
There's a quote, I was reading the Yvon Chouinard book, Let My People Go Surfing, the Patagonia founder, and he said, if you're first in the market and you have a good product, nobody can catch up because you have such an advantage being first. And that one really stuck with me. It's like, all right, that makes me feel better. It can be tough on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, your question about if someone wants to do an e-commerce, I thought I would say maybe try to do something SaaS instead. But yeah, it's all really difficult, and it's so lovely to speak to people who are in it, in the trenches.
Great. Thank you very much, guys. It was lovely talking to you guys. We have learned a lot today. You guys have been extremely kind and extremely generous. You did not shy away from giving away what you know, from teaching and sharing your secret sauce with people. I think a lot of people in the e-commerce industry and otherwise can use the learnings from these webinar. We're going to be cutting it and dissecting this webinar into small video snippets and sending it out to you and to your network. We'll tag you as well. And just to inform you guys, we have been doing a lot of this stuff off late, and we'll also reach out to you if you are interested in what we do. We have a Shopify app, a WooCommerce, a big commerce app, which helps you guys, which can help you guys solve a lot of issues, because e-commerce is a difficult giant to understand, and sometimes our businesses suffer and we're not able to understand why is our e-commerce business is suffering. So our plugin, our Shopify app, when it gets installed, it can identify it automatically analyzes 600 plus KPIs in your business in the background. It can tell you these are 5 KPI which are suffering. You fix these 5 KPIs, your business will boom. So a lot of this is just one aspect of our Shopify app. We also do a lot of personalization, email marketing, SMS marketing, um, which is being run automatically. We're doing a job of almost 5 or 6 apps in just one single Shopify app called Enalito. More than happy to connect with you if you know more about it, guys. And thank you. I want to thank you again for your time today and for the fabulous discussion. We will be in touch. We'll be sending you all the video snippets in the coming week. Thank you again. Thank you very much. Have a fantastic
Thank
day.
you so much. Good luck, guys. Be
Thank
safe.
you. Y'all too. Take it easy.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey.
Bye.